Magic Bites by Ilona Andrews. Oh yeah. Sorry. I thought I have been reading the wrong name for the author. It's been a long day. Chapter 9. Oh shoot, how many chapters are there? There's 341 pages. I'm on 207. Oh my. Oh. I mean, there's 302 pages, so I have 100 pages left. What in the world? Is there less than that? Okay. I'm not gonna keep, looking. I'm gonna end up, ruining something. I sat on my porch, alternating between a bottle of hard lemonade and Boone's Farm sangria, and watched the night breathe. It was very quiet. The night breezes had died, and nothing troubled the dark leaves on poplar branches. Not a blade of grass stirred on the lawn below. I took a big swig of sangria and another of lemonade. Not drinking so much, but getting drunk, making my body feel as bad as my mind. I wish I had some beer to chase down the wine. It would make me sick faster. I'd accomplished quite a bit. It's hard to sit here and not be proud of myself. I'd failed to find Greg's killer. He would murder again. He would kill young women. He would kill shape changers. I didn't even know where to look for him. I'd pissed away whatever meager credibility I had with the pack, and with the Order for that matter. I had a thing going with a nice guy. He wasn't perfect, but he liked me. He had tried pretty hard. A normal, decent guy. And I had broken our little relationship beyond all repair. He wasn't a part of my world, so I brought him into it. On my terms. I turned one of the bottles upside down, guzzling the liquid without tasting it, until I almost choked, and raised it in a salute to the distant line of trees. Nice going. The tree said nothing. I shook my head and reached for the other bottle, and saw a monster in my heart. It sat on its hunches, sniffing at the wind, a large bastard at least 160 pounds. Long grayish fur grew in patches on its lean carcass. Bare skin, pale and wrinkled, showed between the irregular shaped spots of fur, especially on the stomach where long, ragged scars crisscrossed the flesh. A small hump protruded from the beast's neck back, and the fur covering it was longer and coarser, forming a matted mane that flared just behind the large head, crowned with round human ears. The thing's hind legs were heavy and muscled and shaped somewhat like those of a canine, but with longer digits. Its front paws, smaller and disturbingly human, in a shape clutched something dark. I squinted at the wet, fuzzy clump. A squirrel. The creature sniffed at its prize with long, wrinkled muzzle, opened massive jaws, and tore into the squirrel. A sickening crunching of broken bones disturbed the night's silence. It chewed with gusto, squeezing the bloody stump in its hands, and looked at me. The small bloodshot eyes that glared from the beast's face were undeniably human. When you looked into the eyes of a shape-changer, you saw the beast clawing to get out. When I looked into this thing's eyes, they burned with understanding, dim, yet significant, intelligence, betraying sadness and a capacity for suffering. The only thing raised its horrid maw to the sky and made an eerie, lingering noise, as if a dozen voices murmured the same phrase in a dozen languages at once. Then it turned to the squirrel and bit off another morsel. A faint scraping of claws reached my ears. I glanced about me. Grotesque shapes hid in the shadowy corners, some small, some large. They perched on the rails, they slunk below, around the porch stairs, and darted under the trunk in the driveway, shifting and moving all around me. The rim of the bottle touched my lips, and I drank as the beast drew closer. Poor Crest, a velvet voice murmured. I've been alive for 300 years, and I can't remember the last time I laughed so hard. I set the bottle down with marked slowness and looked toward the voice. It's you. Shit. I would have never thought. Bono smiled at me, showing even teeth, white and inhumanly sharp. There were too many of them. Funny how I never noticed it before. The black, spiky, gel-saturated hair was gone, and long, sleek strands fell to his shoulders. They were gray, the odd dark gray of dirty duct tape. His skin was pale and smooth, and I was seeing too much of it. Since Bono chose to appear nude, except for something resembling a kilt or a skirt that hung from his hips, doing a piss-poor job of covering whatever it was supposed to cover. The world went fuzzy. I rubbed my forehead. The wine was kicking in. Bono slid from the rail on which he had been perching. He moved with liquid slickness across the porch, seamlessly, coming to all fours and lowering himself to the floorboards to sit beside me. There was something so alien in the way he moved, and how he sat, how he smelled, how he looked at me with the eyes brimming with hate. Something so inhuman that my brain stopped, smashing against inhumanity like a brick wall. He made me want to scream. I forced myself to sit still. The effort burned some alcohol, and the view didn't seem as blurry. In the yard, several smaller creatures waited impatiently as the large one finished the squirrel. It's hard for you, isn't it? The pair said softly. It's hard to sit next to me like this. You want to scream and run as fast as you can across the grass, never looking back, knowing that you can't escape, but running still because it's better to die with your back to me. Do you know why that is? Because your body knows that you are food to be used, eaten, and discarded. I brought the bottle to my lips and took a small sip. How many cheesy novels did he have to read to come up with that one? He leaned, lowering himself until he lay on his side, his head supported by the arm bent at his elbow. Laugh, Kate. It's the last opportunity you'll have. I shrugged. In the yard, the squirrel hunter took a swipe at the smaller, hideous thing that darted to nip at the tuft of the fur in his hand. The smaller creature yelped, ready for another pass, and froze. Its short, nearly translucent tail quivering, gripped by an invisible hand. It stood stiff, thick legs far apart. The quivering spread up its spine until its neck trembled. The phantom hand squeezed hard one last time and released it. The creature jerked and collapsed, shaking it, gained its feet and stumbled away, whining softly, its tail between its legs. Children misbehave sometimes, Bono said. They need to be punished. If you're wondering, I can do it to my women too. He stared at the big creature as it walked towards us. Let's get the introductions out of the way, Yupare said. This is my eldest son at the moment. I call him Erig. Erig is the future dinner, this is Erig. Erig, human eyes sunken deep into his deformed skull, teared up. What the hell did you... Baboon. Yupare shook his head. Strong, cruel, aggressive. Fortunately, he got a little more from me than from his mother. He can speak. Say something for Kate, Erig. The monster looked down at his hands. He shifted from foot to foot, unsure, and emitted a long, distorted screech like nails scraping against chalkboard. Blood! He shrieked. Sad, isn't it? Bono smiled. He walks the earth, a pitiful, wretched creature, uttering words at random, longing for something. He himself doesn't know what. and hating everyone and everything. I tried ripping out his vocal cords, but the damn things just grow back. Blood, Eric sighed. Upair waved him away. Go on. Eric returned to his post in the yard. The Upair sighed. I'm thinking of killing him when we're done here. You think I should? Swallow more wine. It won't help, Bono said. I shrugged and drank some more. Why make an alliance with Olyth? Why not? It was a good plan. Sooner or later, the half-breeds and the necromancers would have warred, and Olyth would take over the vampire stables. I'd have enough vampire meat to gorge myself sick. Vampire flesh is best, Kate. It's aged and flavorful, like a fine wine. You ate shape-changers, too. Their magic strengthens me, Bono grimaced, but they taste like shit. His fingers touched my hair. He picked up a strand and raised it to his nostrils. I bet the original plan was to put a bun in Olyth's oven. He bared his teeth. The bitch was barren. Can you believe that? He twisted my hair around his fingers and looked through it at the moon. I pulled away, and he let the strand slip from his hand with a chuckle. But then I stumbled onto you, Kate. And you're not barren, are you? Why me? He leaned close, his breath hot on my cheek. I know what you are. I've climbed the hill and sniffed the grave of that rotting sack of bones you called father. I smelled his stink, and I know his blood isn't in your veins. And I know whose is. All of that power crammed into a tight, sweet little package. Did you know your real father hunted my kind thousands of years ago? Your puny little mind can't comprehend the extent of my hate for him. You will give me a son, Kate, and all the magic of your bloodline will belong to me. He laughed softly as I had to swallow a scream. Why did you kill Greg? He was getting too close to me. Olyth's little subterfuge failed to fool him. I knew I'd have to kill him sooner or later. The trick was to do it so you'd leave your precious warded house and come after the killer. You wanted me to confront Olyth. You wanted to know if my blood was stronger than hers. Yes. It took you so long to figure it out. I practically drew a map for you. I hand-fed you every crumb. All you had to do was follow the trail, but you meandered and backtracked. An ape would have gotten it faster, but then you and an ape are only a small step apart. He licked my cheek. The magic is thick tonight, and I grow hungry. There's a fresh corpse waiting for me at my place, and more will be coming. There are many necromancers among the people who would rather serve me than that fool on his gilded throne. Let's end this. What do you say? I said nothing. No clever remark? Are you scared, Kate? His voice dropped to a whisper, but the words he said thundered with power. Estine, Lyra, Hisati Virenida, and now you are forever mine. Oh, dear God, for him, power words were a language. The strength of ancient magic gripped me, crushing my mind with its enormity. The whirlwind of light swirled about me, carrying me into the unknown depths. I bit my tongue and tasted my blood. Something furious and definite rose inside me and screamed. Blinded by the light, I heard myself speak a single word. Dare. 1 second. Release. The light. And I saw Bono's eyes staring into mine. Unfamiliar words came surfacing from someplace long forgotten. Their meaning somehow clear. Arnir Tirn Van Estine. I'll kill you first. I smashed the bottle against the stairs. The glass shattered, spilling across concrete. I rammed the razor-sharp edge into his throat. Blood sprayed over me. Ood. Die. The ground shook with power. I sank into the word. The pair fell, blood gushing from his throat. I lunged to the door and dove through. The word flowed closed behind me. An odd gurgling noise came from the pair. It struggled from his ruined throat, bubbling forth with the gushes of dark blood. Bono reached for the bottle. His fingers closed around the blood-slick glass, slid fastened around the edge, the glass slicing into the flesh of his fingers. He pulled and ripped the bottle from his neck, dropping it gently onto the boards. The gurgling noise strengthened, expelling blood with each tortured cough. Glass shards slid from the wound, carried down by the crimson flow. A hideous creature crept onto the porch to sniff the bloody bottle. Bono grabbed it with one hand and flung the 40-pound thing over the rails like a kitten. His fingers grazed the awful cut, wiping away the blood. The wound was closing. As it sealed shut, the gurgling noise mutated, growing louder, and I realized that Bono was laughing. "Nice try," he said, displaying his unscarred neck. "My turn." He leaped at the door, an explosion of crimson rolled through the doorway, and he howled, thrown back. He flipped and spun about, his eyes blazing. Silver from his eyes leaked onto his cheeks, staining the skin. There was nothing at all human about him now. He lunged away and saw the sharp, angular vampire bones guarding the doorway from the inside. "Bitch! Rock, wood, and bone, Bono," I said dully. "Your ward is reinforcing mine." He screamed. The windows vibrated. I threw my hands against his ears. Bono pounded his fists against the porch floor, and the boards exploded. "Won't work," I told him. "You can demolish the whole house. The ward will still stand." He stared at me, silvery streaks wetting his face as if he cried metal instead of tears. His offspring shivered and hugged the ground. "This isn't over," he howled. "I will murder all that give you protection. I'll kill the cat and I'll devour his flesh. His magic will be mine, and then I'll come back. No ward will guard you then." He leaped from the porch, racing into the night, and his brood followed him. I leaned my head against the wall. The booze made it hard to think. He didn't die. I hadn't expected him to. One who could weave the power words into sentences wouldn't die from a single word. "The cat?" He said he'd kill the cat. Was he talking about Jim? No. Curran. It had to be Curran. Jim wasn't strong enough to threaten my ward. Curran was. All shape-changers had a natural resistance to warding spells. It had to do with the animal part of the nature. Curran's resistance was the strongest. I could call Jim and warn him. Who would believe me? "And men, my prophet, wail, do ride." I mumbled and dragged myself to my feet. Call Jim. He didn't answer the call, and the answering machine did not pick up. The jolt of ward breaking ripped through my skull. My headache exploded, and sleep fled. Someone was in my house. I slipped my hand under the pillow, found the handle of a throwing dagger, and pulled the blade free. I lay awake, breathing quietly. Silence and dark filled the rooms. There was no need to go hunting. Whoever it was would come to me. A man-sized shadow loomed in the hallway, a deeper darkness against the wall. It hesitated for breath and approached. I closed my eyes, watching it through my eyelashes. 6 yards. Breathe in and breathe out. 5. 4. Close enough. I hurled the dagger. The black blade spun through the air and bit into the shadow's shoulder. Crap. Missed. The shadow lunged for me. I went for Slayer, but the bastard was too fast. I kicked both feet hard. The shadow swatted my kick aside and grabbed my right wrist. Steel fingers squeezed and my hand went numb. I hit the shadow in my throat with my left hand. It growled and I found myself staring into yellow eyes. "Let go of my hand, asshole." Curran let go and I rubbed my wrist. "Damn it, don't you know how to talk?" He stared at me uncomprehendingly. I reached for the lamp, remembered that the magic was up, and took a candle from the night table instead. I struck a match. The narrow blade of a candle flame flared into existence. Curran stood before me, his eyes wide, unblinking. Tiny red marks covered his face and hands, blending into a uniform coat of crimson. I reached out and touched his palm. Magic stung my fingertips. Blood. Curran was covered with blood, minuscule drops of it swelling with every pore. He had broken through my ward and had exerted a price. Curran gave no indication of hearing me. He must be dazed from shattering the spell. A headache pounded up my skull like a hammer. Gaining my feet, took Curran by the hand, led him to the bathroom, and nudged him into the shower. I turned on the cold water and let the icy cascade splash on my face. Lowering the toilet cover, I sat down and rested my head on my hands. The water poured. I would have killed for an aspirin. Curran drew a sharp, ragged breath and exhaled. Awareness crept into his eyes. Cold, he said. Shuddering, he shut off the water and shook himself. The drops extinguished. The candle in darkness swallowed us. I reached blindly and threw a towel at him. Finding the door, I stood toward the kitchen. Halfway through the short hallway, something fell into my head. I leaped to the side and grabbed at it. My fingers held a twig. What the hell? I looked up and saw the night sky. A large, irregular-shaped hole gaped in my roof. Curran had picked the highest point of the building where the ward would be the weakest and punched through the ward and the roof with it. I ground my teeth, went into the kitchen, and found a fey lantern. With a little coaxing, it ignited. Its gentle blue flame spreading soft light, Curran appeared in the doorway. You broke my roof, I told him. It was easier than the door, he said. I knocked. You didn't answer. I rubbed my temples. From now on, no more wine. Something clanked. I looked up. Curran put my dagger on the table. How's your shoulder? Sore, he said. Telling him that I'd been aiming for his throat wasn't in my best interest. You're right, he said. It's not over. I know, I said softly. There's a U-pair. I know. He has Derek. I stared at him. I sent Derek and Corwin to the wood, Curran said. He attacked them at the pickup point and took Derek. Last Corwin remembers, the kid had a broken leg, but was alive. What about Corwin? He's hurt. How bad? He's dying. Third tree from the left, Curran said. We stood on the porch, shoulder to shoulder, the night stretching before us. I see him. Reptilian-looking thing crouched on the branches of a poplar, its long scaly tail wrapped around a tree limb. The watcher Bono had left to keep an eye on me. We can't kill it. Bono thinks I'll sit in the house and hide behind my wards. If we kill it, he's going to know. He has to have some sort of telepathic bond with them. Curran strode to the tree. The thing watched him with huge round eyes. Curran jumped, caught a low branch, and pulled himself onto it. The reptilian monster hissed. I went to the shed and brought back a coil of cable wire. Curran grabbed the thing by the neck. It squealed and let go of the branch. He hurled it down, and I stepped on it and tied the wire around its neck. Its skin was translucent and colored pale olive, glistening with transparent scales. Curran jumped down, and we tied the other end of the tree. We headed toward the ley line. We sat on a narrow wooden platform hastily thrown together from bits of discarded lumber. They were called ley taxis, cheap wooden constructs that lay in the stacks near every ley point. Nothing living could ride the ley line without having some sort of support under its feet. If you were foolish enough to try, the magic current would sever your legs just above the knee. The ley line dragged us north toward Atlanta at nearly 90 miles an hour. Magic held the taxi completely immobile, so much of it appeared the rough wooden platform hung still, while the planet merrily rotated past it. Explain the bone ward to me again, Curran said quietly. He killed the vampires and fed on them. The flesh he consumed created the bond between their bones and him. By bringing the bones inside and binding them to the stone foundation on the walls, I forced him to fight against himself. It's nearly impossible to break this kind of ward. I'd also dropped the ward markers all around the yard so he would have a clear passage to my porch. He was too happy to see me to notice. You baited him? Yes. So the born ward can be reversed, but blood wards can be overcome by a person of similar blood. Apples and oranges, I said dully. I felt tired and restless at the same time. The blood ward draws its power directly from the blood, while the rock, wood, bone ward is environmental ward. It draws power from the magic itself. The presence of bones just defines it, similar to a lens. That allows only a light of a certain color to pass. He can't enter my house when magic is up, and since he is magic, he must be too weak to try during tech. I watched the planet rotate by, the darkness-drowned valleys and hills rolling on both sides of us. Poor Derek. I clenched my teeth. Don't, Curran said. I should have found someone to listen. We didn't look at each other, choosing instead to stare into the night's face. Wouldn't have mattered. I would have still sent them into the wood. It was the safest place for them. In retrospect, it all fits. My voice was bitter. He was Gastek's journeyman, right in the middle of the People's Recon crew. He knew when vamps went out and where they were headed. He knew which route your people took coming back into the city from the keep. He spent all his free time picking up women at the bar. Leaned back. I had the benefit of Anna's vision, and I still missed it. So stupid. Curran didn't say anything. The stars shone bright, mocking us from above, laughing at the two humans on a piece of junk. I closed my eyes, but sleep refused to come. I put a broken bottle into his throat, I said. I saw the bloody glass. He laughed. The bottle was in his neck. He was bleeding all over, and laughing at me. He won't be laughing when I find him, he said it without bravado. Flat, the same way most people promise to pick up a loaf of bread on the way home. The almanac said that the pair was immune to metal, wood, stone, tooth, and claw. How the hell are we going to kill him? Curran reached over. His warm hand rested on my forearm for a moment and moved on. For some reason, that made me feel better. There was no reason why it should have, but it did. I closed my eyes and put my head on the damp-smelling boards and fell asleep. Okay. I have lots to do. Lots and lots and lots to do. So I am going to end it there. You just have a lovely, lovely evening. Much love. Bye.